Hello everyone, welcome to Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services. It's a video on daily news and editorial analysis, which I'll be covering from the Hindu and Indian Express. So the most important news and editorial of the day that is relevant for both prelims and mains examination for the civil services will be discussed in this session. Let's get started with the news topic list. Today is 15th of October. The first important news, Global Hunger Index 2022, which was recently released. Second is GSLV Mk3 to launch 36 OneWeb satellite. We'll see the detail and achievement for India. Third is INS Arihant carries out successful launch of the SLBM. The two news from the space sector for today. The second last, that is IMF director praised India's economic performance, and this statement is again relevant in the light that India is going to be the president of G20. And the last is an editorial that Indian deep sea tech and a case for strategic fund. Apart from the news and editorial discussion, at the end of this video, there will be MCQ based questions. These questions will be based on current affairs that will help you for the upcoming prelims examination. So without any further delay, let's get started. And before I begin this session, those of you who are new to our channel, do not forget to subscribe Apti Plus Academy for Civil Services on YouTube. If you like this video, if you find this video informative and helpful, do press a like button. So starting the session with the first news, that is the Global Hunger Index 2022. This particular news is important for General Studies Paper 2 under the subtopic that is important international institution agencies and their mandate. So recently the Global Hunger Index, that is for the 2022, has been released, and India has ranked 107 among 121 countries, and the performance of India is considered to be the worst among the South Asian countries. Now अगर देखें दूसरे countries, India के neighbor countries में, so the performance for Sri Lanka is 64, which has performed pretty well compared to India. Nepal has ranked 81, Bangladesh 84, Pakistan 99, and Afghanistan is the only South Asian country that lags behind India. We have witnessed that after the overtake of the Taliban, जो अफगानिस्तान की performances है वो काफ़ी पुअर रही है. इकोनॉमिक प्रोग्रेस की बात करें, इवन फॉर द लाइवलीहुड ऑप्शन, इट हैज़ डेवास्टिकेशन इफेक्ट. So the reason being, it has evident that Afghanistan की performance काफ़ी ख़राब रही है, but we have to take a caution and we have to take a lessons from other countries of the South Asia which has far better performance compared to India, right? So this definitely should be the concern for the government of India. Now talking about the Global Hunger Index 2022, specifically focusing on India's part. So in 2022, the Global Hunger Index, India is ranked 107. This rank is very important for many other government examinations. They can ask you directly about the rank. So the rank is 107 among 121 countries, right? While the score for the GHI is 29.1, that has several level of hunger and serious issues. So these are the ranking according to which the color code, the level of the country is being bifurcated. Now, GHI अगर स्कोर की ट्रेंड की बात करें इंडिया, for 2000 the number was 38.8, right? Now for 2007 36.3, for 2014 28.2, and 2022 this is 29.1. Now talking about the other countries, like India scored 29.1 in the overall global hunger index. दूसरे countries की अगर बात करें, रवांडा is 102, नाइजीरिया 103, इथियोपिया 104, Republic of Congo 105, Sudan की 106, India 107, Zambia 108, Afghanistan 109, and 1010 is Timor-Leste. So these are some of the countries' performance in the 100 ranking, and the performance of India is really very, very poor. Now, indicators की अगर बात करें GHI की, there are 4 important indicators that are taken into consideration before this measurement of the overall measurement of GHI is published. So first is the undernourishment. यहाँ पे चेक की जाती है कितने countries के undernourishment की क्या status है. So the share of the population with the insufficient calorie intake, and this is strange for a country like India where we have a huge supply of food, and basically talking about especially the staple food like rice and wheat, we have surplus of that in our FCI go down, despite the fact India is a country which has witnessed such high level of undernourishment. Now child stunning की अगर बात करें, the share of the children under the age 5 who have a low height and low compared to the ages and reflecting a chronic undernutrition, this is counted under the child stunning. Now child wasting की अगर बात करें, the share of children under the age 5 who have low weight compared to their height, reflecting the acute undernutrition. Now, there's other point that is taken into consideration is the child mortality. So the share of the children who died before their fifth birth age and partly reflect the mix of inadequate nutrition and unhealthy environment. So these are the four important indicators upon which the compilation GHI index is measured. So these four indicators has their measurement this take into account, and the final GHI index is or GHI score is calculated. Now, based on the value, the four indicators, GHI score is calculated on 100 points. और अगर 0 point होती है किसी country की, that means the country has no hunger, and 100 is a number which is worstest among all the countries. India is ranked 29.1. This is again a value which is important for many other government examination. आपको ये दो numbers, दो value याद रखने हैं, which is again a serious category concern. China is among the country which is collectively ranked between 1 to 17 and have a score less than 5. Now, in terms of performances, जो मैंने आपको चार indicators बताई हैं, उसमें इंडिया की क्या performance रही है, we'll see the detail about that as well. Starting first with the child wasting rate, India's child wasting rate, that is the low weight for height, is 19.3, is worse than the level that was recorded in 2014. It was 15.1%, and even for 2000 it was 17.5%. So the situation is worst in the child wasting rate. Undernourishment की अगर बात करें, prevalence of undernourishment, which is a measure of the portion and proportion of the pollution facing the chronic deficiency, जो हमारी total population है उसमें कितने population के लोग chronic deficiency या undernutrition चल रहे हैं, उसकी measurement की जाती है undernourishment के through, right? And it take into consideration, and the current data for 2018-20 was 14.6%, and the latest is 16.3%. Now this translation into 224.3 billion people died in India considering the undernutrition, right? So अगर total ऐसे लोगों की बात करें, total population की जो कि undernourished हैं, this translate into 224.3 million peoples. Now, child stunnings, there's a positive news in this segment where India has shown the improvement in the child stunning with a decline from 38.7% to 35.5%. This is a marginal decrease that we have witnessed from 2014 to 2022. Now, talking about the child mortality which has also dropped from 4.6% to 3.3% is the same comparative period. Now, on the whole, India has shown a slight worsening with GHI score, and that is increasing from 28.2 in 2014 and 29.1 in 2022. So these are the four indicators, and specifically the performance for India upon all the four indicators that is taken into consideration for the overall GHI score which is released, right? Now, it is important for you to know about the global hunger index. आपको ये पता होना चाहिए कि जो GHI index है उसके कुछ important point. This might be relevant for the prelims examination as well. So this is an index which is a peer-to-peer review annual report jointly published by Worldwide Wellbeing Life Design, that is comprehensively measured the track hunger at the global, regional and countries level. This score is calculated on year-to-year, assess the progress and setback of combating the hunger. And GHI is designed to raise awareness and understand the struggle against the hunger, provide a way to compare life between the hunger and countries, and even call for the attentions where the highest additional and elimination of the hunger should be the priority. The country profile is based on data, that is the information based for the current index 2022 will be definitely taken into consideration for many government programs and policies, and even for the measurement that will be taken by the other countries to rank India. तो एक ग्लोबल परसेप्शंस भी बनती है इस तरह के रैंकिंग की कि इंडिया किस तरह से मैल न्यूट्रिशन पे अपनी काम कर रही है. Moving to the other news, that is the GSLV Mark 3 to launch 36 OneWeb satellite. This is important for General Studies Paper 3 under the subtopic that is Achievement of India in Science and Technology, Indianization of Technology and Development of New Technology. So the Indian Space Research heaviest rocket, that is GSLV Mark 3, it's set to launch 36 satellites of the OneWeb communication constellations from country's only spaceport at Sriharikota in Andhra Pradesh, and this is scheduled to take place on 23rd of October. Right, so this is how India will be setting a benchmark in terms of the overall process of communication satellite and launching it. Now, with this, GSLV Mark III will enter into the global commercial launch market. This is something which India was definitely waiting, and it will definitely call for an advancement and state of art technology for India's space sector. Now, LVM3 की बात करें, जिसे GSLV Mark III के नाम से भी पहले जाना जाता था. This is an advanced version which we know at currently as GSLV Mark III. Now, this is a 3-stage Mark III की अगर बात करें GSLV Mark III, the first stage is C25 stage, the other is S200, and third is L110 stage. And this is encapsulated by an assembly with the payload fairings, right? We're not getting into detail of the entire launch vehicles, but some of the basics must be known to you. Now, there's a collaboration with India and United Kingdom. तो दोनों countries ने मिलके collaborate किया है. India की तरफ से ISRO. Then also the New Space India Limited is a part of the public sector enterprises under the Department of Space and collaborated with the UK-based Network Access Association, that is known as OneWeb, for launching the OneWeb LEO. LEO stands for Low Earth Orbit Broadband Communication Satellite on board ISRO LVM3 या GK, खास करके अगर बात करें Mark III. Now, what are the advantages? The new rocket is capable of launching 4-ton class of satellite into the GTO, that is the geosynchronous transfer orbit. So this is a factually important point that can be relevant for the examination. And other point, that is GSLV Mark III is a 3-stage vehicle which has 2 solid motors and 1 liquid propellant at the core store and act as a cryogenic stage. Something about GSLV Mark III journey. It actually started way back in 2000. Basically, अगर आप देखें, it already started. So there will be a second flight of the GSLV Mark III after the joint ISRO complete 2 development flights since India carried the second lunar mission in Chandrayaan-2. The other heavier launch vehicle of the GSLV has spotted record with the 14 launches so far, including the development of the flights. India currently had 3 operational launch vehicle. अभी present में India 3 operational launch vehicle use कर रही है. First is the PSLV, second is GSLV, and third is GSLV Mark III. So these are some of the advanced version of the launch vehicle that ISRO is using. Now, there's also an option for the private players. Government ने entry दी है private players को. The government has opened space sector for the private player in 2020, promoting the new activities by existing ISRO collaboration, encouraging the startup in the space sector, offering a gamut of activities by launching the services, satellite development to the downstream applications, right? So this will be definitely exploring the sector and even call for the PPP partnership, that is public-private partnership. There are 100 startups in the country now, and this aims to open the sector to allow private players to offer a routine space service while ISRO focusing on the scientific mission as well. Now, talking about the other part, that is the Arihant carrier out successful launch of the SLBM, something important for General Studies Paper 3, that is the achievement of India in science and technology, Indianization of technology, and development of new technology. So, according to the Defense Ministry, India's nuclear-powered submarine, that is INS Arihant, has recently carried out successful launch of the Submarine, that is a ballistic missile SLBM, submarine launch ballistic missile in the Bay of Bengal, and this is a very high accuracy that took place in October 40. Now, all operational and technological parameters of the weapon system has been validated, and India's nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarine program is closely a guarded project. So this is again an achievement for India that it has launched submarine launched ballistic missile SLBM. Now, talking about the nuclear-powered ballistic missile submarines, it's a slow-moving bombers and stealthy launching pad of the nuclear weapons, right? Specifically adding other state-of-art technology. Now, the Arihant has a 3 more SSBN and under construction as a part of Strategic Force Command. और इस प्रोग्राम की अगर बात करें, एक key element है for India's nuclear deterrence capability. INS Arihant was the first boat under the SSBN project, and INS Arihant was commissioned in 2016 with India's nuclear-powered ballistic missile classified under the SSBN programs, right? The missile under the SLBM family. So SLBM family has a hull classification of symbol for the nuclear-powered ballistic missile carrying submarines. Under the SLBM family, missile of various range has developed which include the K-15, also the Sarika, which has a range of at least 750 kilometers. So the total capacity for this particular missile is 750 kilometers. India has also developed and tested K4 missile for the same family, which has a range of 3500 kilometers. So there's a variation. If we talk about K15, the range would be 750, and if it is K4 missile, the range is 3500 kilometers. These are some of the technical things that you necessarily do not need to know, but if you keep in mind, it will be better for you to eliminate the answers. It said that the more members of the K family with the higher range are also on the card. So ISRO is looking forward to make more nuclear powered ballistic missiles. Now, deadly deep sea hunters, something brief about INS Arihant, because this might be relevant for the examination purposes. The long journey started way back in 1970, when 1984 में इसकी design developed की गई. 1998 में the work has started, right? And in 2009, Arihant revealed for the first time. And in 2013, the reactor on board Arihant has certified pushing and the submarines to its final stage. And 2016, extensive trial and submarines has ready for the commissioning. So it actually was commissioned in India in 2016, after which it has taken a toll in doing the overall performances. IMF director praised India's economic performance, something important for General Studies Paper 3, important for the subtopic that is India's economy and issues related to planning, mobilization, resource growth and development. The International Monetary Fund has praised India as a bright spot in the dark horizon due to the rapidly growing economy. Even the difficult time, adding the country will leave the mark for the year. Definitely India is going to be the president of G20, और ये प्रेसिडेंसी इंडिया के लिए इतनी इंपॉर्टेंट है बिकॉज इट विल बी टेक अ प्रेसिडेंट फॉर इंडिया ओवरऑल अगर बात करें पूरी इकोनॉमी की पोस्ट कोविड-19 इकोनॉमी के बाद भी जो रिकवरी जिस तरह से हो रही है उसमें इंडिया की परफॉर्मेंस कंपेरेटिवली काफ़ी बेटर है कंपेयर टू मेनी अदर कंट्रीज राइट सो रीजन बीइंग दिस इज द स्टेटमेंट डायरेक्टली कमिंग फ्रॉम द ऑफिशियल ऑफ द IMF and they've said they made their comment on the sideline of the meeting of the board of the governance on the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank Group which was there in the Washington. They have praised India's that has come the country which continue to maintain its position for the fastest growing and major economy in the world, and India is now stepping into taking the lead of G20 from the position as a strength. Now G20 presidency की अगर बात करें the next year basically at the end of this year India will overtake the G20 presidency and will continue by 2023. तो November 2023 तक India की पास ही presidency रहेगी, which again will call for a lot more revamp and the part of the advancement that has to be done. The IMF official said that India will leave the mark of the areas for the digitalization and digital money. G20 की अगर बात करें जो प्रेसिडेंशिप होनी है उसमें कुछ फोकस एरियाज हाईलाइट किए गए हैं इंडिया के लिए स्पेसिफिकली. द फर्स्ट इज द रेगुलेशन ऑफ क्रिप्टो. ऑल्दो RBI ने किसी भी तरह के क्रिप्टो करेंसीज को इंडिया में रेगुलेट नहीं किया है एंड दे सेड वी आर नॉट एक्नॉलेजिंग एनी काइंड ऑफ क्रिप्टो. सो RBI हैज प्रोहिबिटेड एनी काइंड ऑफ क्रिप्टो. सो लेट्स सी हाउ the G20 presidency of India will give another framework for the cryptocurrencies. Cross-border payments, again a big issue. Public investment in infrastructure need to be taken care of, and renewable energy is something that will also be a point that will be looked for the areas of priority under G20 presidency of India. Now, World Economic Outlook report के अगर मुताबिक चले, and Indian जो IMF है, International Monetary Fund, it is World Economic Report has cut India forecast for the growth that is 6.8%. Earlier it was higher, but revision की गई है और अभी की जो present rate IMF ने anticipate की है this is 6.8%. Now the IMF in July has predicted the gross domestic product that is 7.4 and in January it has earlier projected 8.2. तो ये 8.2 से अब IMF ने इसे कम करके 6.8 कर दिया. Now India is growing at 8.7% for the fiscal year 2021 and 22. Now moving to the editorial of the day, India's deep tech and a case for strategic fund, important for General Studies Paper 2. That is the government policies and intervention for the development of various sectors and issues arising from its design and implementations. So what I'll be discussing in this editorial. First, what is the theme of this editorial? The theme of this editorial is India's deep tech and the funding issues. So I'll be simplifying this editorial into three important subheads. The first is India's strategic fund, redirecting CSR and tax incentives, and the India's roadmap. And we'll start with the background to give you an idea about what the editorial is all about. So अगर बात करें प्राइम मिनिस्टर की विजन की, the prime minister has called for a concentrated efforts where India would be looking forward for self-reliance in military technology, semiconductors, and science-based businesses. This was a vision that was set by the Prime Minister himself. However, there's a market failure where typical venture capital with no investment asset class and the government money is not ready to enough fund with the fast enough, right? So अगर बात करें पूरी ओवरऑल फंडिंग इशू की, वो अभी भी एक चैलेंज है इस सेक्टर्स में, मिलिट्री, सेमीकंडक्टर और science based businesses में. Government has already come up with some of the incentives like PLI scheme, but at ground it is not making that level of impact, right? Now India, in order to become the developed countries in 25 years, right, by 2047 it is anticipated that India will be a developed countries. India will need to build a world class deep tech capabilities in certain sector. That is by most important part, that the government of India, the stakeholders, the private participation, and even we as an individual can be the part of the progress and development. Now India's strategic fund की अगर बात करें to solve the market is sufficiency, बेसिकली जो सजेशंस दी गई है उसमें इंडिया स्ट्रैटेजिक फंड की बात की गई है, जिसमें इनोवेशंस इज अ बिग इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. So certain innovation in the existing corporate social responsibility, जो CSR की provisions है under the Company Act 2013, right? So that will be taken into consideration. CSR की जो budgets and even for the high net worth tax break will incentivize the capital into the strategic tech. Now our way of life की अगर बात करें, where economy, national security are pinned into certain general purposes technologies, उसमें सबसे important technologies अगर आज की डेट में कुछ है, that include the existing semiconductors, 5G, revolutions in biology and autonomy, right? So these are taken into consideration, which call for the 4 technological battleground that exist. Now redirecting the CSR and tax incentives, if you talk about the government part, and the CSR, that is the corporate social responsibility and the incentive that government is providing. The government of India is changing with the launch of Indian semiconductor missions and India's defense flagship, that is IDX and TDF schemes. Now there are 2 avenues to build the movement with the patriotic capital. CSR budgets की अगर बात करें, by the budget estimates, annual CSR budget is 15,000 crore with substantial portion goes unlisted. Now, CSR traditional has been used for the social sector. To prevent the misuse of fund, it is important to create a qualifying criteria. And the pool of investable companies must be limited to the government of India to recognize the startup, right? So this is how the incentivizations and the proper utilization of CSR funding can be done. Now, India's roadmap की अगर बात करें, India will remain a net importers of the critical technology in the foreseeable futures. We import most of the basically equipment for our technological purpose from China, Russia and many other developed countries. Even for basically अगर बात करें और भी technological advancement होती है इंडिया की, then will be more indigenous and that call for more Indianization in nature. While the Prime Minister vision for Atmanirbhar has been created with the right momentum that will take a close decade and even to more fructity. So practically अगर देखें time लगेगी, it will take close to 10 years down the line where we will have a success and achievement. Now, if correctly aligned, the program launched by the government of India with the CSR fund and right tax incentives to the high net worth company can create a self-sufficiency with India's deep tech ecosystem. Now, investing in deep critical technology is the first steps towards countries to awaken the ambition. So this thing need to be done. We need to work upon the technological advancement. We need to work upon the funding part so that it is really appreciating for an individual or a startup who is making an investment. So this is how India's roadmap can move ahead. And even you can use this point in a conclusion part or the way forward. Now moving to the MCQ questions of the day. Before I proceed, just to tell you the answers of yesterday questions. For first question, the correct option is C. For second question, the correct option is C again. Today's MCQ for practice, आपको बताना है Carbon Watch app was recently launched by Karnataka, Chandigarh, Madhya Pradesh और Jharkhand. So do check it out for the correct option. Second question of the day about the Defense Acquisition Council. It's a constitutional body and the Prime Minister of India is the chairman of this council. So if you know the correct answer is well and good. If not, you have to search for the correct option. This was all about for the daily news and editorial analysis followed by the MCQ questions. If you have any other concern, you can let me know. I'll be more than happy to assist you. For time being, I'm signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video.